G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Yes, Nations Championship ended round 1, part 1, volume 1, section 1, whatever you want to call it, ended on the weekend. And the Southern Hemisphere part of the games, mostly Southern Hemisphere part of the games, ended. And so we're going to be heading off in November to play in the Northern Hemisphere for the next leg, next section, next part of the tournament, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we're going to have a couple of weeks off before, the Japan versus Australia comes to plays in Japan, and then South Africa plays Argentina, and then there's gonna be a bit more break. Then there's another second game between Japan and Australia here in Townsville, and then there's gonna be a bit of a break for New Zealand to play. Before New Zealand starts, kicks off the greatest rivalry tour in South Africa, right? And then we kind of like slowly goes into the Bloodless Look Cup in October. And then we've got, Springboks coming in October as well. And then heading to the November series before everybody gets a break, at least in our part of the world, for over Christmas and January. Now, there was some idiots, I think, talking about transitioning the Rugby Championship and put it all at the same time as the Six Nations. And basically going to have, we're going to have, September, October, and August, or just like off with no rugby. And I just think that's such a terrible scheduling. Like, forget about the fact that, we have to move Super Rugby to the middle of the summer in over Christmas, no less. So we have to start Super Rugby in the middle of the summer in like 35-degree heats, heading into the Rugby Championship in February to align with the Six Nations. And the Rugby Championship will mostly play in summer as well, in basically heat as well. Forget about all that. Like, how could you have like, an international calendar where it's just like, literally a quarter of the year just has like no rugby, like literally like maybe seven, but seven doesn't count, has like no proper like rugby at all. Like, how can that be even like considered? It's beyond like, it's just crazy in my opinion. But hey, hopefully they do not go for that, and hopefully they stick to the current scheduling, and we have something to watch all year round basically. And that is in my opinion the best way to go about it. And if the French wants to restrict access to the players, hopefully someone has the balls to stand up against that as well. And yeah, I just think it's crazy how they thought having like a 3 months off, it's gonna be a good idea. Like, for me, just having like 2 weeks off before the Wallabies play Japan, it's already like too much of a wait for me. Like, I have no idea what to do for this next two weeks in terms of content. And in terms of my weekend, like, I'm thinking about going to a rugby league game. I'm going to watch a Roosters game. I'm going to support the Cox. Up the Cox. I do live in the eastern suburbs, so that is my local rugby league game. So maybe I should go watch at least one rugby league game. But yeah, it is crazy how some of these ideas that World Rugby is, people are coming up and World Rugby is taking it seriously. It's just, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, here's the standing for the Nations Championship. So basically, a lot of people probably don't know this. The top team will play the top team in the final. So it's not going to be like it's not going to be South Africa versus New Zealand like I was expecting. Whilst when this was announced, it's going to be Northern teams versus Southern teams. So everybody's going to play according to the rankings of France. As the standing stands, will play against the Springboks. Scotland play against New Zealand. Australia will play against England. Argentina against Ireland. Wales against Japan, and Fiji versus Italy. That's going to be the final week in Twickenham. And that's going to be the games that's going to be played for that weekend. So, yeah, that's how the Nation Championship goes. But, it's interesting. But, I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be... Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But that is how it's structured to play out. The rankings, the world rankings, has shifted quite a bit as well. So, because Australia has beaten Italy by such a huge margin... Italy really plummeted in their rankings. They were 10th. Yeah, 10th, dropped down 2 rankings to 12, despite Japan losing to French because they were too far apart, didn't really lose any points. Wales as well, despite losing to South Africa, too far apart to lose any points. They actually moved up in the rankings as a result of Italians falling so far down in theirs. So let's have a look at full results before we talk about some of the games. So first off, All Blacks beating Ireland at Eden Park. I thought this was one of the better, probably the best All Black games I've seen since like the Rugby World Cup maybe final. Just really looked like I think one of the most important part, a lot of the fans will be, a lot of the weaknesses of the team has improved over the last 3 weeks. Not completely like 100%, you know, not 100%. I think still have room to improve. I think, especially like a locks positions has significantly improved for the All Blacks, but also a lot of young players are getting put into the team and are, moving forward with really good results. So it's no longer you're no longer like just hoping Bowden Barrett will rescue the team like we've seen for the last couple of years. So I think that is just a massive, massive move forward for the All Blacks. And if the Springboks, if the Springboks thinks that this is going to be the same team they played last year, they might be very pleasantly surprised. And I'm sure the Springboks will love a challenge there as well. Ireland, lots of mistakes, but I think a lot of that's because the All Blacks did really well with the rush defense. Prendergast under pressure, yeah, bit too many mistakes. Still needs some work there for the Irish team to solve that problem. France 42-15 over Japan. Wallabies absolutely flawed the Italian B team, C team, 57 points to 10. I thought this was a disgraceful performance for the Italians. They already left like two players. So let me just pull this up. They already left like two of their best players at home, which it was not this one, but yeah, they basically left, including Capuazzo. They were like left two of their top players at home because top 14 too much, too tired to play. So left some of the players at home, and then they made 9 changes from the All Black game coming in this one. They did have a lot of injuries as well. So despite even with the injuries, they actually still made 9 changes to play like this game, and it was just an absolute like B grade performance from the Italians. I thought it was disgraceful. Their coach got suspended. The suspension for criticizing the referee after the All Black game. It's like, yeah, dude, you really think that the referee could have made a difference for beating the All Blacks based on the performance that you put out? Not a chance. But he complained about the referee, got suspended 2 weeks, and it's been reduced to 1. I think he just kept it to. Should have kept this to 2 weeks because I think that's just like absurd thing to say that the referee influenced the result. Because of there was a red card. Oh yeah, because his own team player headbutted. Everybody think that's a headbutt. Somehow he didn't think that was a headbutt. He thought that affected the result. I mean, come on, man. Like, you're lucky that was only a 20-minute red. Should have been a full red for the entire game. And then he complained about it. Just disgraceful. And also during the Wallabies game as well, they clearly targeted Miles Matasero, the new guy. So Miles has a bad boy reputation. In Super Rugby, he's been, he's quite energy, what do you call it? Passionate, I guess. And then clearly the Italians try to set him off. I'm really glad that Miles didn't take the bait and just again show some growth and maturity there. So I'm pleased to see that. But still, clearly the Italians try to set him off. Had one guy on the bench try to throw a punch, look like a punch or something, and then he got sent off with the red card. Just disgraceful, absolute disgraceful from the Italians in this game. 57 points to 10. It was just, the cherry on top, against this B team, absolute atrocious performance from the Italians. But anyway, moving on. I've already made a complaint about it on my other video. Fiji versus Scotland. This was actually a pretty good game for Fijians. They were leading at half time, 17 points to 7, I think it was, and then only to completely fall apart in the second half, I think because of fatigue. They improved significantly in the line out, significantly in the set piece, scrum, and then only to not able to put out a full 80-minute performance once again. Springboks dominated with the Welsh. Probably could be a bit more clinical, but 43 points to 0. Can't really complain about that. Lots of new players and lots of fresh combinations on the field, and still able to keep the opposition at 0 is a pretty good result. And finally, this was another crazy game. Argentina 24-31 to England. This was the referee Angus Garner. Had a pretty tough finish. There was people throwing stuff at him. I just think that's pretty poor from Argentina. Even if you do think the referee made the wrong decision, to have that sort of reaction towards the referee. I think the referee had a tough decision, and there was a seatbelt, but we've seen that so many times in that situation not being called. And I just think Angus Garner felt it was initially on the shoulder and then slided up to the neck, but it still should be a penalty. But yeah, I thought it was a tough call by the Argentinians. Even with that call, should not have laid their hands on the referee whatsoever. But yeah, anyway, so there was a bit of interesting stuff out of that game as well. So the one of their players, Albornoz, put his hand on the referee and he's cited for that. So he might get a lengthy ban. And also, it is the responsibility of the union, Argentinian union, to control the crowd as well. You're not supposed to like stir up the crowd so that they wanted to invade the pitch and hurt the referee. It is the Argentinian union's responsibility, and having the crowd throwing stuff at the referee is just it is again the union needs to step up and stamp that out. So I don't know, he might get a pretty lengthy suspension as a result of that. So moving on, there has been we're going to talk about this. So Joe Schmidt ended his final game with the Wallabies after the Italy win. So there was some talks about his record, 38.7% win overall, slightly better than Dave Rennie at 38.28. But I thought to be honest, there was some criticism saying that the team could have done better. There's a lot of losses here and there, close losses here and there. But I think that, in my opinion, despite my criticism of the team, I do think that it was a pretty tough job to take over from Eddie Jones. Right? Remember how bad that was? I thought, people like players were literally leaving from to go overseas. Players were signing to play in rugby league, and it was just like players were retiring. Just absolutely hollowed shell of a team after Eddie Jones, and then for Joe Schmidt to come in and put the team back together and look like a proper team again, and then build a bit of a consistency. And there's some pretty big wins, beating England at Twickenham the first time there, beating the Springboks, 62 years, 63 years in the making at Johannesburg. That was a bloody miracle. And then beating the Lions as well in the third test. There's some pretty big achievements there for Joe Schmidt, and nobody can take that away from him. And then there were, and also you have to keep in mind, Joe Schmidt was called out of retirement to help the Wallabies. He has a disabled child that he wants retired to look after, and he put that aside to come and help us. So yeah, really do from the bottom of my heart appreciate the effort that Joe Schmidt had helped. And also it was Laurie Fisher's last game as well, so appreciate that as well from Mr. Fisher for all the time and effort that these guys have put in for the Wallabies to make this turnaround. So yeah, so now the ball has been handled to Let's Kiss. He's already updated, made some interesting change to the Wallabies team. He's called in the guy that everybody was calling for, Lukam Salakaia-Loto, and I think this is a great decision because Les Kiss has worked with Lukam at the Reds throughout the season, so he knows Lukam better than Joe Schmidt. And I think this is the right call. Lukam has been called in, and Champion de Kripny, and that's exactly the guy he dropped. I thought was not the same work rate as Lukam, not at the same level. And yeah, I'm really glad to see that Les Kiss came in and made the tough decision here. Also, James Slipper got dropped for Isaac Calais. I think it's great because we need to get new players in. I mean, sure, you wanted to give this guy the record most capped player for a national team, fine, but really needed to focus more to the future. What else was changed? So Corey Toole got dropped. I really hope that he had a game. He didn't get a play at all. Josh Flug also got dropped. He did bring in someone that I was a little bit what do you call it? I wasn't too, I have no idea, it wasn't in my mind, at least, Isaac Henry. He brought in Isaac Henry, who's been quite well for the Reds. He's brought him in to replace Len Ikitau as like the third, I guess the second up for Len Ikitau. Ikitau won't be playing against Japan, had a bit of an injury, but he will be okay, I think, later on in the season. So Isaac Henry has been called in. I think Hunter Paisami probably starting at 12, should be fine. And then who else? Josh Fluke is another center that's dropped, but I think that's basically he's dropped. He's dropped. Let's see what happened here. He's dropped. He's dropped basically Slipper and Champion de Kripny, and then he's called in Corey. He's dropped Champion de Kripny, Corey Toole, and Josh Fluke got dropped, and he's called in Len Ikitau got injured, and then he's called in Isaac Henry, and what is it? Isaac Henry, Isaac Calais, Aiden Ross and Josh. Sorry, Luka Msalaka-Lotto. That's the 4 player he called in for the 4 players that he's replaced. I'm pretty sure Aiden Ross was not part of the team. So he's called in. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wasn't part of the team. But yeah, that's the changes. I'm pretty sure for the Wallabies. But anyway, let's move on. So we've got let's kiss. There was some talks as well about where Suoli should be. There was a discussion. I think we should put him at 10, to be honest. But there was some talks about putting him at 15. I mean, if you go to 15, you'll learn the kicking game, and it's basically the same kicking game you'll learn at 10. Suoli has played 10. From my sources have told me that he's played 10 in a bit of 10, a couple of years in 10 in high school, and then he's already kicking goal. He kicked goals already. He knows how to kick goals, and he's done that already for the Roosters. So, I think he's already got 60% of the talent that is required to play at 10. And, the most important one is the goal kicking. He's already got that. You just have to learn how to do the kicking game, which you need that to play at 15 anyway. So I think that, just really challenge him. If you really think that he's the super, the super recruit, the $2 million recruit, let him live up to it. He is the most, one of the most talented, if not the most talented player ever. Let him live up to it. He can learn. He can learn better and faster than everybody else. So that's my opinion. But, Les Kiss thinks that they're going to stick to him as center and consider him to start with, and then consider him for other places. Maybe 15 and the win. But I really hope him try him at 10 at some point. Even just for a small game, just to at least give him some of the pointers towards that. I think will be really, really good for his development. So Scott McLeod has been called in to play to be joined as part of the Wallabies defense coach. So that's pretty good. He was a former defense coach for the All Blacks under Ian Foster. So the Springboks has swung the axe. 5 player has been cut from the squad. Nchunu, what is it? Nkuthu, what is it? Nthuku Mchunu has been cut. I really want to see this guy more, man. He was looking pretty good for the Stormers, I'm pretty sure. Evan Ruiz is cut. Andre Hugo Fenta is cut. Ambrose Papia has been cut. I thought it was pretty good, both for the Bulls, and his performance for the Springboks was pretty decent. But yeah, they didn't think it was good enough. And Jack Williams as well. There was a lot of talk about how him was pretty good on the weekend. He's also been cut. Yeah. Some big returns from injuries. Eben Esbeth, Lou Diacha, really desperate near some of the locks. Franco Mostert also back as well. Sia Khaleesi is back. Morne van der Berg, Sasha Vanberg and Gumer Zulu, 100 Pollard, Andre Esterhuizen, and Ethan Hooker and Kanan Moody are all back from injury. So that's a pretty big boost for the Springboks there for the greatest rivalry test. So they're gonna go to Argentina first, and the decision for the Rassie Erasmus is only send half the team to Argentina. The players that's going to be playing, he's going to send those, and then the rest of the team will stay in South Africa preparing for the All Blacks. So yeah, that's the game plan for the Springboks. Just maximize their opportunities for all of their players, and then maximize their time to prepare for the All Blacks, like they kind of always do every year. So the All Blacks obviously had a bit of a incident, yellow/red card. I think Andy Farrell might not be happy about this in the post-match function. But Luke Jacobson had a shoulder, dropped the shoulder into a rock onto one of the Irish player's head. And this was ruled a yellow card, and TMO reviewed it, staying a yellow because the TMO said his arm was blocked from making the wrap whilst he jumped into the rock, which I don't think was the right decision, because the whole, even if he wrapped the arm, jumping into the rock like that off his feet, launching himself recklessly is already enough to be a red card. Albeit just the 20-minute red, but that's even with a wrap, that should still be a red card. While the TMO had somehow found a reason to reduce it to just a yellow, so he kind of escaped one. But I thought that was an interesting decision there. Anyway, let's finish off this news. Moana Nu, one of my favorite players of the Waratahs, has signed to move to the Highlanders. Yeah, so he's back to New Zealand, and boy, I'm gonna miss this guy. He's been pretty good for the Waratahs. Hong Kong, China has beaten Uruguay 42-40 on the weekend. And this looks like it was a away game as well. So yeah, one of the biggest upset in, and I don't know how big upset this is, but it's a pretty huge upset. But boy, I'm gonna see if we can find a replay for that. That's quite incredible for Hong Kong, China. And finally, Halfpenny, Lee Halfpenny, after retiring from rugby, he's already got a job to be the kicking and skills coach at Cardiff. And yeah, that's the news this weekend. I mean, I might take a couple weeks off, not much to talk about. And yeah, maybe follow me on Instagram. So I might put some short contents there. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one. I'll see you guys. Yeah, maybe in a week or two. Cheers.